Thanks for being here. I'm a bit nervous. I came to the UK 2 years ago to write, and now I do that, so everything feels a bit blurry. Throughout these 3 years, I've lived in Edinburgh, London, and now Glasgow, so very often I don't know where I am. The first poem is kind of about that. Questions for the police at Royal Infirmary. Am I making too much eye contact? Do you always work nights? What will I have for breakfast? Did you know the coffee machine does not work? Should I look at those old ladies' bruised faces? Are you sick of your job? Why am I looking at you without disgust? Is this because this country is so new to me? Do you think soap operas used to write props for your badges? Did you call the police as a kid? Was it a prank or a threat? What makes you talk? The lack of windows or the color grey? If you were in the interrogation room, could you tell my great-granny lied? Are you kind when no one watches? So what made me write was a series of protests in Hong Kong 5 years ago. At that point, 2 million of us went to the street to demand for what we wanted. The protests died down, and instead of events, all of our demands and grief became a duration. And yeah, in that background, I kind of discovered that, oh, this is a body that has to live through things. So I kind of used tattoo as a motif to talk about these feelings. And during my research, I found out that tattoos, the act of tattooing, has so much to do with the history of colonialism and traveling. And this takes inspiration from some of the tattooing practices in Indonesia, where part of my family is from. The tattooist. The Dutch soldiers came with tobacco, the Japanese with brothels. Long before the arrivals, we'd always sharpened our teeth, lining, webbing our limbs with sugarcane juice and soot. Mullets broke bits of our bodies to prepare us for a husband, prevent us from being abducted as comfort women. To bear fate on our skins our bearing, housing our souls. A graphite starburst on my shoulder sheltered me from evils lurking in the jungle, the way raindrops bounce from petals. In assigned villages far from our forest, I dreamt my grandmother smoked a big fat cigar, her hands dotted like the prickly fronds she lived among. She told me, for every drop of blood spilled onto the ground, an earthquake will ensue. They better do. The next poem happened when I had an argument with my partner. I happened to live 10 minutes away from Richard Burton's tomb, and Richard Burton was one of the first people who translated literature from elsewhere into the Anglophone canon. This poem is called Master Narratives. In a graveyard, we know not to pick bluebells, but I step on a snail. The sun hushes. Behind Burton's sandstone tent of a tomb is a stair to look in, glare on scratched glass, bones invisibly bedded on 2 ends. Isabel earned her husband's last books, hoping they would taste good. In their image, I translate my flesh into empires, possessed by the thing that also reads as Dongsai, east-west. Why do I still believe, like a stranger, that being understood could save us? As moss eats into benches, statues, nameless headstones, we watch our steps, watch for that faint crushing of shells. The next poem I read is a reply to a question that a lot of Hong Kong people asked me in the UK. They asked if I felt guilty for not writing in Chinese, which was a really fun question because I think until 40 years ago the official language of Hong Kong was actually English, despite the fact that the majority of us spoke Cantonese. And I was tortured into writing English after studying in a Buddhist girls' school for 7 years. So being asked this question was not the best thing on earth. So I decided to borrow a series of photographs by Laura Williams called The Invisible to talk about this strange feeling. Reply. Do you feel guilty for not writing in your mother tongue? We are in a field. The grass is unruly. I stand holding a mirror. My torso is out of view. To you, the field is tunneling through me. The veils behind and before me merge. I serve the mirror that frames the field, that frames the mirror. Between the field and the mirror, the grass is already something else. All that glamour and glimmer. For the grass to reach the mirror, you cannot be proximate. It's generous, both of us, almost missing. We seem not to go or stay. This poised. Next poem is called Salvaging. It happened in the Scottish Highlands. In Sunchild Orkney, rainbows sprouted after I failed to withdraw cash. What a thing, to spend all my money to be in nature when I could not drive. According to the tour guide, a boy once saw a soldier jump from a ship. From afar, the boy thought, that seemed fun, I will join him. Oil spilt along ice shards, frozen water burned. Causes of death did not offset each other. As such, I replied to emails after encircling the ring of Brodgar, windshield moss sandwiches. The circles were complete. Back on the tour bus, an upturned ladybug struggled. One had to turn shipwreck upside down to dispatch it from town to town, rumoured too to have been reused for satellites. From sea to space, the ages still orbited on moonlit purposes. I sat with opposites, an empty seat, and looked out. The last poem is probably me trying to think of all the good things that happened 5 years ago when my city was burning to the ground. And I discovered this moment when I went to protest for Palestine. Yeah, it was a really strange experience. 5 years ago, Palestinians reached out to Hong Kong to tell us how to dodge tear gas from the police. And 5 years later, the protest kits that Hong Kong people made were circulated in the student encampments for Palestine. This one's called Muscle Memory. Courage is a half-rehearsed song. You are the notes. How we brush shoulders at a bar, then outside headquarters. How you care enough to say hi, briefly taking off your masks. How we trespass mountains, hedges, highways. How you push twigs to make way. So I, marching behind you, won't be slapped in the face. How we dot and dot open fields, humming our horizons. How lonely it is to choose. You make it less so. So I choose over and over to not turn away, to love you better in public. Thanks for listening.